Can you hear me, all of
Namaste,
you?
Didi.
Namaste, Didi.
Namaste, Didi.
Namaste.
Namaste, Didi.
Okay. So I think all of you can hear me.
Namaste,
Yes. So
Didi. Yes, Didi, we can hear you.
okay, thank you.
Namaste, Didi.
So very happy to meet all of you here on this platform of Swadhyaya and the Institute of Human Study. We have been doing this since last 1 year from 5:30 to 6:30. So very glad that all of you have joined online. So this is an opportunity. We thought that, so many of you are unable to come physically. So at least we can all come online. This is the new medium of the modern life. So anyway, I would like to first, as I said, admit that this is what I'm going to speak about is mostly about what others have written about Savitri. And as I go along, of course, about what little I have understood about Savitri, because as the mother herself said, nobody other than the mother herself can explain about Savitri. So I don't claim at all that I'm trying to explain anything. It is a great honor and privilege in the sacred month of August, Sri Aurobindo's birthday, 15th August, that I offer myself in a very humble way to again, launch upon reading Savitri more intensely, to better, kind of enjoy, I should just say enjoy the bliss that is in this book. So today I'm just going to give you an introduction. Last July 1st, Sunday, also I had given an introduction. So today it will be a little repeat, but I think all those who have heard me last Sunday also, would enjoy listening to it again, because the concept of Savitri is something which we need to sink into. What I would request one and all here is, if you are truly, sincerely interested in reading Savitri, after what I'm going to share with you, because everything that I'm going to share with you is what the mother herself has said about Savitri, and then something about the explanation about the core concept of Savitri by Anand Bhai and by late father, Professor Madhusudan Reddy. So it will clarify to us what Savitri is all about. Okay. So my humble request to all of you who are really interested in, walking this journey, is to have your own copy of Savitri. Unless and until you have your own copy of Savitri, no amount of listening to what Savitri is about is going to make you to enjoy, the bliss that it offers us. It's like, having a beautiful dish in front of you and you're just looking at it, but you're not able to taste it. So unless and until you have your own copies of Savitri, it is not going to be, much of a use to just listen to me, because that is absolutely, as I said, not at all going to be even a drop, even a tiniest drop of the joy and the bliss that all of us will gain by reading Savitri. Okay. So every one of you, you can, I think Orusri is somebody whom you know, you can call her, you can just ask for a book to be sent to you, or we have the books in our bookshop, in the school bookshop, for you to purchase. So kindly do that. As I said, unless you do that, you will not be able to really enjoy reading Savitri. And it is not just enjoyment. We will come to learn from what the mother has said. What I'm going to read to you now is a sadhak, a devotee called Mona Sarkar. He and the mother had a conversation about Savitri, and he raised certain questions and the mother raised some questions to him. And it is the record of that conversation that I'm going to read to you today. Okay. So the conversation is in the book, The Supreme, so some of you might already have read it. Very, very, very powerful. So once the mother spoke about it, Monada was able to write down everything. And then he again showed it to the mother, and the mother approved that, yes, that is what probably was the essence of what she had said to him. Okay. So we need to understand that, as I said, it is something very, very intense, because Savitri is, known as the truth of tomorrow. So we are launching upon a kind of a journey which is going to take us to the future. This Sri Aurobindo and the mother very much stood for the future. They are avatars who have really shown us what is to come in the future. So in the light of the future, we are able to better understand the present and in what direction we need to journey upon to be able to leap into the future, to be able to be aligned to the future. Okay. So this is what the mother, I'm reading the mother's, words which have been written down. She says, I quote, "It does not matter if you do not understand Savitri. Read it always. You will see that every time you read it, something new will be revealed to you. Each time you will get a new glimpse, each time a new experience, things which were not there, things you did not understand, arise and suddenly become clear. Always an unexpected vision comes up through the words and the lines. Every time you try to read and understand, you will see that something is added, something which was hidden behind is revealed clearly and vividly. I tell you, the very verses you have read once before will appear to you in a different light each time you reread them. This is what happens invariably. Always your experience is enriched. It is a revelation at each step." Unquote. Now, what happens is Savitri is something that many people have heard to be the most important work of Sri Aurobindo. So they do try to take a copy and try to read it. And many a times in the first, chance itself, they feel it is too difficult for them to understand. It is something that they will not comprehend and English is too high. So they stop reading it. That is why I wanted to start the class today, the introduction, by making you to listen to these words of the mother. As she said, first thing to try to understand is not the goal of it. Okay. So it is not, don't do it with the mind. As I'm going to read the notes further, she is talking about meditating on it. Okay. So the manner in which the Savitri lines, the meaning of Savitri itself will start revealing itself to you. Because the important thing, my friends, is to understand the energy that Savitri holds. It is a higher spiritual energy that it contains. So unless we open ourselves sincerely from our soul space, that the connect will not happen. But the moment you start connecting with your deepest self and your highest aspiration, the meaning will start revealing itself to you. Okay. So it happens in another realm totally. So do not try to mentally try to analyze, oh, I don't understand this word. What would be the meaning? Fine. If you want to jot down some words and look at the dictionary, it's okay. But even if you don't do that, it doesn't matter. Because the whole sense of what is being conveyed is something that today's introduction will help you to understand the flow of how the book is, unfolding itself. Okay. So as we go along in these classes, as I said, do not wait until the next Sunday of the next month. I would appeal to all of you to purchase your own book and then start just looking at it, reading it. And I would suggest to all to start with book 3. The book 3 is the book of the Divine Mother. Do not start with book 1 and book 2, start with book 3. Okay. Okay, now I continue to read what the mother has said. I'm quoting again. But you must not read it as you read other books or newspapers. You must read with an empty head, a blank and vacant mind, without there being any other thought. You must concentrate much, remain empty, calm and open. Then the words, the rhythms, the vibrations will penetrate directly to this white page, will put their stamp upon the brain, will explain themselves without you making an effort. So again, unquote, my words here. I would humbly suggest that, again, if you are really serious about learning about what Savitri is all about, I would suggest take whichever time, early morning or evening, which is sometime which is your time, where you are free from all the other domestic chores. Just 15-20 minutes is enough. If you have more time, well and good, but start with only 15 minutes. See that you are sitting in a corner with this absolute silence and just read Savitri in a very quiet way. The mother said it is best to read Savitri aloud. So if you are able to read it aloud, all the better. Otherwise, you can still read it silently. So keep a time in the day where it is best that you can read every day. That is a little bit of a tapasya, but if you do that, you will have wonderful, wonderful kind of a effect in your lot of change, lot of transformation in your own consciousness. And that is again what I'm going to read now, what mother has said. Again, to quote the mother, Savitri alone is sufficient to make you climb to the highest peaks. If truly one knows how to meditate on Savitri, one will receive all the help one needs. For one who wishes to follow this path, it is a visible help, as though the Lord Himself were taking you by the hand and leading you to the destined goal. And then every question, however personal it may be, has its answer. Here, every difficulty finds here its solution. Indeed, there is everything that is necessary for doing the yoga. You know, before writing Savitri, Sri Aurobindo said to me, I am impelled to launch on a new adventure. So the mother says, Sri Aurobindo has crammed the whole universe in a single book. It is a marvelous work, magnificent, and of an incomparable perfection. It may then be said that Savitri is a revelation. It is a meditation. It is a quest of the infinite, of the eternal. If it is read with this aspiration for immortality, the reading itself will serve as a guide towards immortality. To read Savitri is indeed to practice yoga, spiritual concentration. Please mind the word spiritual concentration. One can find there all that is needed to realize the divine. Each step of the yoga is noted here, including the secret of all other yogas. Surely, if one follows sincerely what is revealed here, in each verse, one will finally reach the transformation of the supramental yoga. It is truly the infallible guide who never abandons you. Its support is always there for him who wants to follow the path. Each verse of Savitri is like a revealed mantra which surpasses all that man possesses by way of knowledge. And I repeat this, the words are expressed and arranged in such a manner that the sonority of the rhythm leads you to the origin of sound, which is Om. My child, yes, everything is there. Mysticism, occultism, philosophy, the history of evolution, the history of man, of the gods, of creation, of nature, how the universe was created, why, for what purpose, what destiny, all is there. You can find there all the answers to all your questions. You can find there all the answers to all your questions. Everything is explained, even the future of man and of the evolution, all that nobody yet knows. He has expressed them in beautiful and clear words so that spiritual adventurers who wish to solve the mysteries of the world may understand it more easily. But the mystery is well hidden behind the lines, and one must rise to the required level of true consciousness to discover it. All the prophecies, all that is going to happen is presented with a precise and wonderful clarity. Sri Aurobindo gives you here the key to find the truth, to discover the consciousness, to solve the problem of what the universe is. It is not in the mind or by the mind, it is in meditation that Savitri is revealed. So the other part I'm going to read is called as the extraordinary power of Savitri. So again, reading from Mona Sarkar's account of what the mother said and what his experience was. Some days when I went to the mother, if she found that something was not all right with me or something was tormenting me, she would ask me the reason for it. Often I could not reply. Then she would say, "Let us see if we can find out what is disturbing you." She would take up Savitri, concentrate for a while, open it with a paper cutter, and pinpoint a passage. Invariably, the lines contain the answer to my problem, and I would feel relieved. She told me to try it out for myself. On one occasion, the mother spoke to me about the extraordinary power of Savitri. When you are depressed, if you feel miserable, if you do not succeed in what you do, or else if what happens is always the contrary of what you expect, however much you try, if it has come to such a pass that you lose your temper, life becomes disgusting and you are unhappy, then immediately take Savitri. And after a moment's concentration, open it at any page and read. You will see that all your misery disappears like smoke. And you will have the strength to overcome the worst sorrows. You will no longer feel that which was tormenting you. Instead, you will feel a strange happiness, a reversal of consciousness, along with the energy and force to conquer everything, as though there was nothing impossible. And you will feel this inexhaustible joy that purifies everything. Read just a few lines, and that is enough. to establish the contact with your inmost being. Such is the extraordinary power of Savitri. Or else, after having read, if you concentrate very deeply, then too you can find the solution to what was tormenting you. You have only to open Savitri at random and without thinking, and you will have the answer to your problems. Do it with faith and simplicity. The result is certain. Do it with faith and simplicity. The result is certain. So I've just shared with you what the Divine Mother herself has shared, has spoken to Mona Sarkar. And I think from this, we should be able to draw a lot of blessings, a lot of, encouragement, a lot of guidance as to how we need to proceed to read Savitri. So I will again go to the main book itself and again give you some explanation. As I said last time, I had covered a bit of it. I would like to repeat that because you need to know. I hope all of the persons who are attending now are aware of the story of Savitri, which is legend of Mahabharata as well as in the Puranas. But anyway, I would still want to read that, share it again with all of you so that we have both in us, in the background, the story of Savitri, but actually in terms of what that story represents in Sri Aurobindo Savitri. That is very, very important. So here I'm reading out what my father, Madhusudan Reddy Garu, has spoken about Savitri. Because it's simple explanation here. Savitri is the unfoldment of a supreme vision of being in becoming. It is a pilgrimage into the infinite, a journey towards eternity. Savitri belongs to the future that is manifesting in our times in waves upon waves of new consciousness. Savitri is the odyssey of life divine. It is a journey of the embodied spirit from the hour before the gods awake through endless distances of time to realize and feel the love and oneness of all existence in the truth of an eternal golden dawn. So now coming to the legend, the story in the Mahabharata. Savitri is both a legend and a symbol. The original story appears in the Mahabharata as well as in the Puranas and concerns with the life and penance of King Ashwapati, who is childless. Severe are his austerities, observing celibacy and periodical fasting and performing numberless sacrifices, yagnas, and resorting to repeated asceticism. Passing through the purgatory, as it were, of tapasya for 18 long years, Ashwapati succeeds in propitiating the supreme goddess Gayatri, who appears before him and grants him the boon, because of which he has a daughter. Being a gift from the Divine Mother, she is rightly named Savitri. Savitri is no other than a portion of Gayatri, herself incarnate in human body. The light, love, and grace of the Mother Supreme come upon earth to redeem humanity. When she grows of age, Savitri blossoms into a radiant maiden of golden glow, making for suitors impossible to seek her hand. She is a such is a matchless beauty and divine afflatus. Ashwapati, realizing the covert nature of the situation, asks herself to go round and choose her own life's partner. Savitri accordingly goes all over the country, visiting several spots, cities, and states, and not finding anyone worth her choice, enters a forest. There, providentially as it were, she comes across Satyavan, a great and noble and brave prince of gentle demeanor, a prince in exile. He is the son of a blind king, Dyumatsena, who was dispossessed of his kingdom and driven out into the forest. Both the king and the queen mother had lost their eyesight and were taken care of in exile by their only son, Satyavan. Savitri sees in this prince in exile a future companion and returning from the forest tells her father of her choice. Narada, the great divine sage, who had the seeing intelligence that helped him to have knowledge of the future, was present then with the king and the queen, not without a purpose. And when Savitri reports her choice to her parents, they feel satisfied. But Narada, looking into Savitri's horoscope at the behest of the king, foretells the impending doom that awaited the bridegroom, that Satyavan would die 1 year after his marriage with Savitri. This upsets the decision of the king, who pleads for dropping the proposal. In spite of the opposition to a selection, Savitri clings to her decision and gets married to Satyavan. Immediately after marriage, Savitri accompanies her husband to his forest hermitage and shares his simple and hard life. Always remembering the dire prophecy that the great sage had made, Savitri prepared herself for the fateful event, observing the enjoined penances. On the fateful morning, Satyavan goes to the forest to fetch fuel for the sacrificial fire, and Savitri accompanies him. Unusual though, but as planned by her, in view of the forecast, she certainly did not want Satyavan to go alone to the forest and face his death. They reach a particular place well known to Satyavan, where he stops to cut wood. After cutting some wood, Satyavan complains of a severe pain in his head and, resting his head in the lap of Savitri, falls asleep. And that was the sleep of death. For Savitri sees Yama, the lord of death, who had arrived there to carry the soul of her husband, and accordingly takes it. Savitri, armed with the secret power of her penance, follows Yama even across Vaitarini, the river that separates earth from the higher worlds of light, and engages him in an enlightening and absorbing conversation. Yama, pleased with her love and devotion, her skill and her capacities, grants her several boons, the last of which is the restoration of the life of her husband. Savitri is the divine grace descended on earth, who fights the battle for the immortality of man, who battles with the Lord of death, conquers death for man, for humanity, and implants deathlessness in the earth nature. Savitri thus triumphs over Yama, the dark symbol and citadel of fate and death, and returns to her hermitage with Satyavan. Satyavan later recovers his father's kingdom and rules happily over it. Now, this is the story which is written in the Mahabharata. It is a simple legend from ancient Indian literature, which not only symbolizes but emphasizes the virtue of conjugal fidelity. But Sri Aurobindo saw in this myth and a legend a covert recordation of a great and significant experience of the Aryan race In an earlier age, a bygone yuga, a forgotten cycle of human existence, he seeks to reopen it and make it relevant to the needs of the resurgent soul of humanity. Taking the clue from the meanings of the names and the inner significances of the characters of the legend, he conjures up a manifold vision that leads to a marvelous experience. It is a luminous reconstruction of the ancient story, whose very scaffolding is infinite space and endless time. No other epic is known literary history ever comes any way close to it, either in treatment or in theme. Savitri is the savior segment of Savitri, the supreme creative splendor of the divine, the mother. She is the all-fulfilling, all-revealing, all-achieving divine grace, come in human form. Now, this is what the symbolism of Sri Aurobindo is. That is what I'm reading now. Savitri, Satyavan is the vehicle of truth, the one who carries the divine soul and descends into this kingdom of death. Ashwapati is the Lord of universal life energy, Lord of spiritual strength and light, one who has conquered and mastered the truth of physical, vital, and mental existences with his creative soul power. And Dyumatsena is the one with a shining divine mind and a radiant intellect who, descending into the world of darkness and ignorance, has lost his vision, his eyesight, and become blind. He is thus exiled from his own domains of seeing intelligence as he comes to the earth, steeped in the darkness of conscience. I'll again slightly reiterate a bit of what these four most important personalities of Savitri are in terms of Savitri, Ashwapati, Satyavan, and Dyumatsena. Because all of us need to understand what they represent in the book Savitri of what Sri Aurobindo has written. So I think many of us who have been a little exposed to the philosophy of the mother, we are all a little familiar with the concept of ascent and descent, isn't it? Ascent and descent, remember, forms the symbol of Sri Aurobindo. And in a way, to me, this is what, it's a takeaway for me in terms of what Sri Aurobindo explains, or what Savitri is explained as. The descent, the whole power of the Supreme coming down upon the earth, is Savitri herself. Okay? So Savitri represents the descent, the divine grace which is manifesting on the earth. And the ascent, both represented by Ashwapati and Satyavan. So this is what I will just read out to you and try to explain to you about it. Yeah, starting with the description of Savitri. Savitri can be described in four ways. Savitri is the divine word, daughter of the sun, goddess of the supreme truth, who comes down and is born to save humanity. In order to appreciate the supreme role of Savitri, that of the divine word, we need to first examine the other aspects of Savitri, which could help us to appreciate a true role. The first one is given by goddess Surya even before the birth of Savitri. The second one is described by Ashwapati the father. The third one by Narad, the heavenly sage. And lastly, we have the most powerful and inspiring description by the Supreme, Sri Aurobindo. So first we look at her as the daughter of the sun. Okay? So this, of course, is being aligned to some lines of Savitri, where the description of Savitri is, written in this manner: daughter of the sun. O radiant fountain of the world's delight, world free and unattainable above, O bliss, whoever dwelleth deep hid within, while men seek thee outside and never find, mystery and muse with hieratic tongue, incarnate the white passion of their force. Mission to earth, some living form of thee. Then she is the daughter of Ashwapati, and the second description of Savitri is the one given by her father. And he says, he has certainly known his daughter all along, but now, as if a subtle vision opens up in him, and he realizes the inner truth of Savitri, who has been actually a boon granted by the Divine Mother, because the Divine Mother herself grants the boon to Ashwapati. And that is what we will read in book 3, the book 3, known as the Book of the Divine Mother. How his aspiration is able to bring down the Supreme Divine Mother, who blesses him with a daughter and called as Savitri. Okay. So Ashwapati's description: he saw through depths that reinterpreted all, limited not now by the dull body's eyes, new found through an arc of clear discovery, this intimation of the world's delight, this wonder of the divine artist's make, carved like a nectar cup for thirsty gods, this breathing scripture of the eternal's joy, this net of sweetness woven of aureate fire. So this is the way Ashwapati sees Savitri, his daughter. Then Narad's description of Savitri: he flung on her vast immortal look, his inner gaze surrounded her with its light, and raining back knowledge from his immortal lips, he cried to her, who is this that comes? The bride, the flame-born, and round her illumined head, pouring their lights, her hymeneal pomps, move flashing about her. Narad, who knows about the divine reality of both Savitri and Satyavan, holds back the secret knowledge of the future and Savitri. He says, reveal, O wind, with light, whence thou hast flown, hastening bright-hued through the green tangled earth, thy body rhythmical with the spring's bird call. Finally, we come to the description of what Sri Aurobindo himself describes Savitri. Savitri has come to save the earth itself. As I said, in this philosophy of Sri Aurobindo, the descent, she represents the grace, the power from above, descending upon earth to save the earth and transform the earth, life divine. So he writes, thy embrace which rends the living knot of pain, thy joy, O Lord, in which all creatures breathe, thy magic flowing waters of deep love, thy sweetness give to me for earth and men. Now we go to Ashwapati. What does he represent? As I said, he represents the ascent, the aspiration from below to the spiritual heights. Now let us try to understand in Sri Aurobindo's words the symbolic significance of Ashwapati. Ashwapati, the lord of the horse, her human father, is the lord of tapasya, the concentrated energy of the spiritual endeavor that helps us to rise from the mortal to the immortal planes. Now, please understand, not very difficult. Our spiritual aspiration, what we have within ourselves as a spiritual aspiration, the aspiration which can be known as our spiritual tapasya, that is what Ashwapati represents. He represents the tapasya of the earth itself. Okay? He is representative of the entire aspiration, spiritual aspiration of the entire humanity. So he is the concentrated energy of the spiritual endeavor that helps us to rise from the mortal to the immortal planes. So when we read Savitri, 50% of the book 1 and 2 in size, in number of pages, actually make 50% of Savitri. So it is we need to understand when we read book 1 and 2, because they are the most difficult books in a sense. They represent our own spiritual journey from mortality to immortality. So the importance that Sri Aurobindo gave, and as I have described in the beginning, if you really go through book 1 and 2 thoroughly, every experience of ours, every experience that we have, journeyed upon, especially our spiritual aspiration, we will find that written in Savitri. So that is something very extraordinary and very, very, very delightful when we are able to read Savitri and see that how Sri Aurobindo has so perfectly described every human spiritual aspiration upon the earth, and it's all there in book 1 and 2. So Ashwapati also means, in the light of Sri Aurobindo, the mind power or tapas, if it is dynamic. In the Vedas, Ashwa or the horse signifies power, the power of tapasya. The power of tapasya it forms the basic aspiration. Ashwapati could be representing tapas, the inseparable aspect of chit. So chit shakti or chit tapas, as we say, how our consciousness is together with that sense of aspiration. So through long years of tapasya, he opens to humanity a higher level of consciousness and brings down the mother. So it is due to the tapasya of Ashwapati that the mother descends. And that is again in the story we see, through his prayer, through his tapasya, the divine mother descends and blesses him with a child who is Savitri, who is here upon earth to transform, to save the earth and to transform it. So on one hand, he represents human aspiration, while on the other, he represents the divine energy. In this manner, he is like Satyavan, the growing and evolving soul of humanity. So we are talking of Satyavan. What is he? Satyavan is the growing and evolving soul of humanity. So they are a little similar, Ashwapati and Satyavan, but there is a marked difference. Ashwapati represents the spiritual energy, the spiritual aspiration of humanity to rise into the higher heights of consciousness. And Satyavan actually represents the earth itself, how the earth is evolving from the lowest and moves to the higher. So that is why the Divine Mother is sent down to be able to, ensure that the earth, because he represents the earth, he represents the evolution of the earth, how through her grace that the earth is able to marry heaven, how the earth comes together to the highest. So she is the golden bridge. That is why Mother is called as the golden bridge. Okay? So in this manner, he is like Satyavan, the growing and evolving soul of humanity, helping and preparing it for the descent of the Divine Mother, as well as for the coming of the new race. Now, what does Vyumatsena represent? The last description in Sri Aurobindo's note is that of Vyumatsena, Lord of the shining hosts, father of Satyavan. So the shining hosts in the Vedas are the cows, the rays of the luminous beings. So we can say that Yumatsena is the lord of the luminous beings. Basically, what he says, in other words, secondly, we are told that Yumatsena is the divine mind. In order to get a deeper understanding of the divine mind, we have to revisit the concept of Superman as discussed by Sri Aurobindo. Let us take up the definition of the divine mind from the chapter Mind. Okay, I will not go through this. So basically, it is the divine mind which descends upon the earth but forgets itself. And therefore, Dyumatsena is blind. It is a kind of an understanding of oneself that when we come down from the divine, abode, when we are born here, we forget our spiritual source. So we are ignorant and blind to our real divine essence and divine source. So Dyumatsena represents that. Okay. So in a sense, the earth is the father of the earth right now is the divine mind, but it is in ignorance, it is blind. And it is only the divine mother, through her descent, through her power of grace, is enabling, it makes it possible to be able to redeem the earth, to be able to transform the earth, to give light back, from blindness. Dyumatsena is blessed with, again, ability to see, which means the divine mind is restored in the earth. And Satyavan is able to ascend to the highest. The earth consciousness, the soul of the earth, is able to reach the highest, and the earth surrenders to the transformation of what the mother has come for. So this is what, if in essence, we are able to understand of Savitri, then it becomes a little easier when we are reading Savitri, because we understand what they symbolize, because they all embody powers and forces within us, in humanity. So when we are actually trying to understand only in the outer sense, Savitri, when we read in this understanding, reveals itself differently. It kind of, narrates the journey of the human consciousness from, from what we are to what we need to become. So the journey of Ashwapati is our journey. And of course, he is able to reveal to us. He walks through, he literally goes through all the levels from the lowest matter to the life planes, to the mind planes, to the higher mind planes, until it really reaches the higher supramental status itself. And we see the Divine Mother herself as Savitri also, who goes through the same journey, because that is something I have not shared. Mother very, very clearly mentions that Savitri is an experience of both of them simultaneously. In fact, the mother said that every day when Savitri was read to her in the morning, it used to be as if Savitri was written in terms of every, minute, every second of her experience previous night, and then the lines used to come, and those same lines were describing her own experience. So it's a simultaneous spiritual experience, spiritual journey that Sri Aurobindo and the mother go through, and the Savitri is literary expression, description of that journey. Okay. So with this concept, as I said, we will stop here. I will take up actually reading Savitri from the next class, which is the first Sunday of September. Just a brief introduction of that. As I said, please ensure that we are able to, what you call, request all of you to purchase a book of Savitri. Those who are really sincerely interested, you need to do that. As I said, just listening to talks will not be enough. And it is only if you're sincerely wanting it to go into the spiritual sadhana. As the mother beautifully says, we don't have to really do anything but be sincere with our own practice of Savitri, to be able to read it with a sense of offering, with a sense of surrender, and ensure that we are doing it regularly, And then it will reveal to you, and there is no other greater joy than reading Savitri. Once you get the touch of that bliss, actually you will not leave it. But it is something like, I would just like to share in human beings, too much light. See, every day we have a day and a night. Imagine if we didn't have had a night, how would it be? Would we tolerate the day? We need rest. So the power of Savitri is so great, so overwhelming, that after some time it can really dazzle you. You can't take the power. It becomes so powerful. It just literally makes your subtle physical get into that space of power, and you literally radiate with it. So at least in my own personal experience, sometimes I had to pause reading it, because so much power will be generated by just reading it. It is something impossible to contain. But the enjoyment, as I said, it just keeps making us into, how should we say, bursts energy of bliss within us. And then once you really get to taste that, there is no, there is nothing which can really stop you from constantly being in the presence, living presence of the mother and Shobando while reading it, and even when you're not there, because the power itself starts, becoming part of your consciousness. So that is the power of Savitri. As I said again, all of you, please understand, if you're sincerely interested, you must purchase Savitri. And the yoga happens through our own reading, because then it keeps connecting us to the energy of the Supreme Divine Mother. And just a brief thing, the volume is, it's like an epic. An epic means it's a literary form of art, of literature, which has 12 books, and the 12 books will have cantos. The entire story in an epic starts from the middle of the story. So the first chapter, the first book actually starts from the day Satyavan has to die. So hence it becomes a little confusing, little complicated for all of us who are newcomers to Savitri. Better to start from the prayer of Ashwapati and the grace of the Divine Mother descending as Savitri. So the book of the Divine Mother, book 3, as I said, it's literally 50% of Savitri. The beginning of that, we will start from the book of the Divine Mother from next class. So thank you again. So by the grace of the Mother, I'm blessed to be able to share a few thoughts of Savitri with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Let's-
Didi.
Let's end with a minute's silence, please.